Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Every country strives toward the achievement of having economic and social well-being for its people. This paper objective is to find out the perspective of Islamic and Western point of view on economic well-being for their society. It mainly focus on two Islamic scholars and two Western scholars. Firstly, for Islamic scholars, the paper talks about Ibn Khaldun and Maulana Maududi. Then, for Western scholars, it will talk about Adam Smith and Plato. For a long time, writers on history of economic thought had always ignored the contribution of Islamic scholars regarding the subject of economy. They start with the Greek philosophers, Roman jurists, and administrators. Not only that, they also mention some of the Christian fathers who lived in the earliest centuries of the Christian era. Unbelievable. Then they skip forward to the Middle Age when Europe came out from the Dark Age, which leave a gap of 5 centuries. Where did these 5 centuries goes? We can say that this gap is the period when Muslim ruled the greater part of the world. When Muslims established powerful empires where they contribute their culture, their science, including economics. Muslim influence reached Europe through translation activities, through education, through communication, through traveling, diplomatic mission, and so on. So, the question that can be raised is that why do Western scholars did not recognize the contribution of Muslim scholars? The strong reason is that they held a negative view of Islam and Muslim. So right now I'm going to explain the contribution of Muslim scholars as well as the Islamic scholars for economic society well-being. The history of Islamic economic thought exists a long time ago, during the time of Prophet Muhammad SAW. Quran being the word of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and Sunnah as the explanation and practical demonstration from Prophet Muhammad SAW, which contain numbers of economic teaching and principles that can be applied to the various situations. Every reasoning that they use or apply should be derived from those primary sources to develop a solution for any problem that may arise that continuously changing in every era. There are many Muslim scholars that is talked about in the paper, but we will be focusing in Ibn Khaldun and Maulana Maududi. The first Muslim that is talked about is Ibn Khaldun, like I said. One of his contribution is the element of theory of value, where he emphasized on the importance of labor, where he mentioned, if I can recall it, it should be further known that capital that a person earns and acquires, if resulting from a craft, is the value realized from his labor. The true intention of this statement is to describe the exchange value, although it is not mentioned in the quote. There are many examples of theories that Ibn Khaldun had contributed, but we can save it for another time, as time is short. Ibn Khaldun theory lay out the foundation for economists of future generation to develop their economic thought. Then, Maulana Maududi. He is not a professional economist, but he gave his perspective on economic ideas that does not consist any theoretical discussion that can be discussed. He thinks that economy can be uplifted by having Islamic economic system where moral values is linked together with the market. Not only that, he also argued that the abolition of interest will promote justice in the financial system. Maulana Maududi emphasized that competition is needed or it is necessary, but it should not be motivated by the survival of the fittest. We can see that most Muslim scholars did not intend for the discussion to be intellectual or academical, but it is to seek justice and fairness for society in the market, in the economy. From the Western point of view, the history of Western scholars that is written in document can be traced back from 2000 years ago, in time where ancient Greek still exists. Famous Western economists like Adam Smith were deeply interested in the ancient work of Greek philosophers. However, in the current time right now, majority view of economic thought is parallel to commercial, industrial, and capital market economy. It is said that this type of economic system is what developed in Western Europe during the 18th centuries, and Western economists try to make an effort to justify this type of economic system. Moving on from the background, now we are going to talk about Adam Smith. When talking about Adam Smith, people usually will talk about his work or book, which is named Wealth of a Nation. One of his ideas in the book is that independent existence is driven by market force in the hand of individual to continuously improve technology to provide everlasting output. Then he also viewed that human characteristic is essential and important for economy to work, where he regards that the interest to satisfy their individual needs is the reason for labor, which is a result from cooperation with one and another. Now we are going to talk about Plato. Many concepts and ideas of ancient Greeks are still important till this day and can be found mostly by Plato. From the point of view of Plato regarding the division of labor, he thinks that human beings create community as they found that they are not self-sufficient, as they cannot fulfill various requirements on their own. So, they will cooperate with one another to fulfill their various needs in life, which will allow themselves to live together as a society. He also emphasized that goods will be produced much easier if every individual works in an area which their nature suits them best. It can be concluded that Western economic thought is mostly normative, that talks about cause and effect, whereas Islamic economic thought came mostly from Quran and Sunnah, that is correspond to logical reasoning and economic thought. Some of the Western views is the same as Islamic scholars, which is to have cooperation and ethical economic system, but their worldview is different in terms of religion. Many scholars of Islam, all from the West, had contributed many ideas of society well-being. The idea of Western scholars can be taken as long as it is not against the Sharia. Thank you. That is it for my presentation.